Good morning. I apologize for the delay. Do we have any public speakers this
We have
morning?
one public speaker, Madam Chair. That would be William Henderson from the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee.
Great. Good morning, Bill.
Thank you. Good morning to the committee and President Roberts. In a few minutes, you'll be discussing my monthly operations report, which differs considerably from that presented a couple of years ago. One of the significant changes that's been made is the report now tracks absolute on-time performance or on-time performance relative to the normal schedule for a line. This measure comports more with the rider's expectations based on a normal schedule of line, and we believe that this measurement is an important element of assessing subway performance. In his 2.5 years leading NYC Transit, President Howard Roberts has made a point of focusing on the rider's experience in the transit system. I'd like to take a few moments to express our appreciation for the rider-oriented initiatives that have been implemented under his leadership. New bus services, including the S89 service between Staten Island and Bayonne, New Jersey, and the Select Bus service currently operating in the Bronx and planned for the city's other boroughs, provide riders with new connections and meet needs for more rapid service. Instead of waiting until funding is available to completely rehabilitate stations, Transit will be repairing or replacing the worst elements of our subway stations through station renewal and component campaign strategies. The long-standing promise of restored overnight service at the uptown end of the Lenox Avenue line has been fulfilled. Riders have a commitment to relieve delays from station flooding. There have also been efforts to provide better service with existing resources, such as the 4-line express service that is operating in morning rush periods. We now have subway line general managers, so riders know that there is an individual who is accountable for the quality of their experience on each of the subsystem's lines. As part of the process of building accountability, there are rider report cards. We've had a number of discussions with Transit about this tool, but the important thing is that Transit is seriously asking riders about their experience with the service that they use. The flow of information to riders has also been improved with enhanced service alert, elevator and escalator status, and lost and found information, and of course Transit's trip planner. On the L line, we see not only the long-planned and long-awaited PACIS system, but also a pilot test of video screens that display real-time locations of trains on the line. Every organization has its internal goals, but under President Roberts, we heard much more about the importance of NYC Transit meeting the expectation of its riders. The Transit Riders Council thanks you for the new direction and initiatives advanced on your watch that will benefit riders far into the future, and we wish you all the best going forward. And personally, thank you very much for your leadership here.
Thank you very much, Bill.
Well said, Bill. Thank you. Before we start, I want to thank Mark for standing in last month when I was otherwise unable. He was seated. He was seated the entire time. And just to echo what Bill says, there'll be more about the wonderful job Howard has done here towards the end of the meeting. We'll get through the fun part first. Could I have a motion and a vote to approve the minutes from last time? All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Any changes to the work plan?
No changes.
Excellent. Can we have the operations report, Howard?
Yes. Weekday on-time performance results for September 2009 were as follows. Absolute on-time performance was 76.5% system-wide, down 1.7% from 77.8 in 2008, and the A division was at 72.3, while the B division was at 79.6. I want to reiterate on the absolute on-time performance. What that measures is any deviation from the regularly published schedules. So if we were to add, for example, 6 minutes to the running time on any given line and keep that 6 minutes in place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that would mean the absolute on-time performance for that line would be 0%. Now, obviously, for people who rode the F line over the weekend, where we have a significant bus bridge, the difference is much more than just the adding 5 minutes of running time. But any deviation whatsoever from the regularly published schedules means that the train is carried as late.
I'm sorry for interrupting. While you're on this subject, if you don't mind, given that I would say the majority of the riders, maybe I'm wrong, don't actually look at subway schedules, and do you honestly believe this is, and we're open, right? We can always make changes or tinkering. Is this the best measurement? I feel like sometimes we prove to get there, and then whenever we're wildly off, we seem to back off of it.
I think if this was the only measure we reported, that would be entirely the case. In fact, the third measure, we do absolute, then we do controllable, and then the third measure probably, unless you started a terminal, probably better represents the rider's experience, and that's the variation from the scheduled headway, the weight assessment. Right. But I really think the three together give a fairly good picture of the service.
And did you manage to that? Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, that in fact, those measures were the subject of the regular monthly substat meetings to review the previous month's on-time performance.
Riders don't know if they're catching the 111 or the 122. They just want to know the headways, and that the headways are regular and frequent, basically.
Well, again, unless they catch train into terminal, in which
Right.
case I think it's more like commuter rail performance.
Right.
But I think it's also important to hold the employees accountable to schedules, to know that a train is going to leave on time and arrive at its terminus on time. So the benchmarking, I think, is that part of the assessment as well as the customer experience.
You know, you could argue that when service is less frequent, such as weekends and late nights, adherence to schedule is even more important. We're actually now doing a monitoring of weekend service diversions to see what the regularity of service is there, and you'll be hearing about that when we're done. But it's quite something. That's all I can tell you.
Well, glad you're doing it, Andrew.
Controllable on-time performance was 92.2% system-wide, up 0.7% from 91.6% in 2008. The A division registered 91%, with a B division at 93.1%. There were 37,461 weekday delays in September. The top three causes were supplemental schedules, right-of-way, and track gangs, combined to account for 83% of the total.
Howard, I note that supplemental schedules alone accounted for 70% of that.
That's because of the work and the maintenance that has to go on. Turning to weekend on-time performance, absolute on-time performance was 46.9% system-wide, down 12.3% from 53.5% in August. Nearly 95% of the weekend delays were caused by supplement schedules due to construction activity. Controllable on-time performance was 89.8% system-wide, down 2.2% from 91.8% in August. The upward trend in subway weight assessment results continued in September. Subway weight assessment was 89.5%, up 2.1% from last year. Both the A and B divisions showed increases. For the 12-month average, weight assessment was 88.7% system-wide, an improvement of 2.8% from a year ago. Again, performance increased for both the A and the B divisions. And at this point, I would like to note the 5-year decline in on-time performance, in fact, has been arrested. There is a slight upward trend, but what I think the committee has to keep in mind is that there is a certain degree of swimming against the tide involved in this. The right-of-way delays which result from aging signal and power infrastructure, are inching up and will continue to inch up over time.
You should be careful using that word arrested around Chief Hull too much. He'll misunderstand you.
The upward trend also continued for subway mean distance between failure, which was a 159,851 miles in September, an increase of 25% from 127,214 last year. The 12-month average mean distance between failure as of September was at 142,538 miles, up 4.1% from a year ago. And we just received the mean distance between failure results for October as well. October was 173,800 miles versus 138,127 miles for October 2008. Could I have the first slide? I guess I already have the first slide. These are 12-month moving averages as of October. And this goes all the way back to 2000. And at that point in time, the 12-month moving average was 106. It went 112, 109, 138, 154, and it peaked in 2005 at 178,972. It then started down 160, 215, 149, 940, and last October it was down to 137, 382. The predicted rise, in fact, did occur, and as of October we were at 148,170, and with a monthly result in October of 170,000. And with the continued performance of the R160 cars, the continued SMS program, and the continued work that the line general managers are doing on individual problems on individual car classes, I think it's safe to say that you are going to see the 2005 high exceeded. And I would dare say that within a year, mean distance between failure for subway cars is going to be above a 12-month moving average above 200,000. So I'm very proud of the people who designed the R160 cars and oversaw their manufacture. I'm very proud of the people who design the SMS programs and, in effect, try to replace things before they fail. And I'm very proud of the line general managers when defects manage to get through the rest of the process, are identifying them on the inspection process, and setting up many campaigns in their own barns to deal with problems like that. On the bus side, weekday pull-out performance was 99.7% or better for the AM PM peaks. I'm sorry. For both the month of September and the 12-month average, completed trips averaged 98.8%, both the month of September and the last 12 months. Bus mean distance between failure was 4,154 miles in September, an increase of 14% from 3,644 last year. And Joe Smith, who is down with the flu, asked me to point out particularly that this was the best mean distance between failure result for the month of September in the last 15 years. The 12-month average was 3,902 miles, down 1% from 3,940 a year ago. Turning to paratransit, completed trips were up by 15.6% in September. For the last 12 months, completed trips were up 19.3% compared to the prior 12-month period. For the fifth month in a row, customer no-shows were down on an absolute basis compared to a year ago. There were 20,151 no-shows in September, a drop of 12.2% from last year. As a percentage of scheduled trips, passenger no-shows were 3.39%, down from 20.6% from a year ago. And I think the improvements that Tom Charles and Joe Smith had promised as a result of the ATS system being installed on paratransit, I think are beginning to kick in. Crime statistics keep getting better. There were 148 major felonies in October 2009, down by an amazing 61 or 29.2% from October 2008. Year-to-date, major felonies are down 13.6%. There were 47 robberies in October, down by 29 or 38.2% compared to 76 last year. Year-to-date, robberies are down 10.2%. Safety indicators continue to be mixed. On the subway side, the customer accident rate decreased by 9.3% in August, although the 12-month average is up 4.8% compared to a year ago. Subway fires were down by 5.8% during September and are down 15.5% over the last 12 months. For buses, the customer accident rate in August was up 17.6% from 2008. The 12-month average rate is up 3% from a year ago. The bus collision rate declined by 1.3% during August, and the 12-month average is down 5.6% from a year ago. And finally, the employee lost time accident rate declined by 8.6% in September compared to 2008. The 12-month average is 18.5% higher than it was a year ago, but we're hopeful that September's good result is the start of a favorable trend. I would like to talk now just a little bit about rider report card results. And I realize that for the overachievers, next slide, in the group, this again is not going to knock anybody's socks off. When I introduced the program, though, I said that it was a baby step kind of progression. Riders are not fooled by rhetoric. They want to see results, and unless you change something, really change something for the better, you're not going to see the needle move upward. On the subway side, these are 2007 versus 2008. 2009 hasn't been done yet. We actually lost a B minus. That was the Grand Central Shuttle, which went from a B minus to a C plus. But the number of D pluses decreased from 5 to 2. The C minuses decreased from 13 to 9. The C's went up from 6 to 12, and the C pluses went up from 1 to 3. Next slide. If you look at just the people who indicate that they are totally dissatisfied with the service by checking the F box, the improvement is as follows. In 2007, 8 lines were rated 90% or greater satisfaction. That jumped to 14 in 2008. It went from 16 to 9, primarily representing the migration of people up to the 90% bracket. The 70 to 79% bracket went from 1 to 3. The 60 to 69 went from 1 to 0. Next slide. On the express buses, we had, and Joe Smith put together a express bus program to make real changes to attempt to improve these grades. B minus remained at 1. C plus went from 3 to 5. C stayed at 1, and the C minus and D pluses went from 1 to 0. Next slide. The satisfaction indexes, we went from 4 to 7 with 90% or better giving grades indicating moderate to extreme satisfaction. The 80 to 89 went from 2 to 0, and the 70 to 79 went from 1 to 0. Local bus grades were not as dramatic. We had one borough raise its overall grade to a C. We had the corresponding shift was a drop from 4 to 3. Satisfaction index, we had in 2008, we had 4 boroughs with grades between 70 and 79, and in 2009, all 5 boroughs had raised their level to 80 to 89. In terms of the priorities, which you have to be able to deal with the priorities if you want to have the maximum impact on increasing your grade, local bus priorities stayed the same. Reasonable wait time, operating according to schedule, and seat availability. Express bus, we have the same priorities. And on the subway, it's reasonable wait time, adequate room at rush hour, and minimal delays during trips. So as I say, we're still not at a report card that any child wanting to progress to the next level would want to bring home to their parents, but there is upward progress. On the finance side, preliminary September farebox revenue was $275.5 million, which was $5 million or 1.8% above the forecast. Year-to-date farebox revenue is 0.9% above the forecast. In constant 1996 dollars, the average September 2009 fare was $1.05. Non-reimbursable expenses before depreciation and OPEB were under the forecast by $9.6 million in September and by $45.5 million year-to-date. Both labor and non-labor results were favorable. September 2009 ridership totaled 194.9 million, 2.4% above the forecast due to higher than forecasted subway ridership, which resulted at least in part from lower job losses than expected. Average weekday ridership in September was 7.6 million, down 5.3% from 2008 due to a combination of the weaker economy, the June fare increase, and calendar differences from last year. Average weekend ridership was also down from 2008, but only by 0.9%. Because we're meeting during the third week of the month, we do not yet have preliminary expense results for October. However, we do have preliminary results for bus and subway farebox revenue. October results were $3.9 million or 1.4% over forecast, continuing the trend of recent months. I should also note that this being the November board cycle, the final proposed budget for 2010 will be presented at Wednesday's meeting of the full board with a vote to approve the 2010 budget scheduled for the December board cycle. Looking at capital program results through September, New York City Transit committed $1.7 billion to awards and design starts. The commitment level represents 89% of the year-to-date plan. The next thing that I would like to mention is that to inform the committee that we are renaming the 100th Street bus depot as the Tuskegee Airman Depot. As I'm sure many of you know, The Tuskegee Airmen were the first black pilots allowed in the segregated U.S. military during World War II. Serving with the 99th Fighter Squadron and the 332nd Fighter Group, they overcame prejudice and doubt and emerged as one of the most respected groups of pilots in the war. Originally believed, and there actually was a War Department study, to have neither the skills nor courage to be effective pilots, the Tuskegee Airmen ended the war with a record of success unrivaled to this day. Not a single bomber that their fighter pilots protected was downed by enemy aircraft. No other pilots in the Second World War achieved that level of proficiency. Active in the European theater, the airmen flew more than 15,000 sorties and lost 66 of their number in action. The achievements of the Tuskegee Airmen have been credited as a major factor in such subsequent events as the 1948 executive order banning racial discrimination in the armed forces and the enactment of the 1964 federal civil rights law. They were collectively awarded the Congressional Gold Medal by President Bush in 2007. President Obama has acknowledged their contributions to the nation and the cause of civil rights, and Tuskegee Army Airfield in Tuskegee, Alabama, where the airmen were trained, has been named a national historic site. No fewer than 11 of the individuals who served with the Tuskegee Airmen also worked for New York City Transit. Reginald T. Brewster, Conrad A. DeSantis, Harry R. Dickinson, John W. Freeman, Noel R. Harris, Oscar W. Hawkins, Austin D. McKenzie, Maury M. Reed Jr., Percy E. Sutton, Victor W. Terrelong, and Fred O. Wilson. I personally, having some military credentials, consider their achievement to be one of the outstanding achievements in the history of arms. Given their connection with New York City Transit, I think it is entirely appropriate to rename 100th Street Depot as the Tuskegee Airmen Depot. The logos, the use of the Tuskegee Airmen logos have been approved by the Tuskegee Airmen Foundation, and that should be the renaming ceremony. I think is probably going to take place sometime in February. That, Madam Chair, that completes the operations report.
That's a very wonderful tribute, and I think we're all very, very proud that 11 of those airmen served with transit. That's quite extraordinary. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Before we leave the report, I guess one of the things, and Tom Charles and I have been meeting, and we talked a little about paratransit no-shows and the financials, and I know we're looking at the budget, I guess, on Wednesday. What I would like to see, we've been working with paratransit and Tom and his staff about getting this pilot up. Clearly, I want to go much more than a pilot, but pilot's the way to start. Let's see how it is on using the yellow taxis and getting the credit card system. I think we're close. Tom has said we're close. Thinks that we might be able to get something before the end of the calendar year, so we can get that going for our subscribed paratransit users. What I'd like to see by Wednesday, and then I was actually still stunned. I think we're only about 1 to 2% using yellow taxis, 11% using blacks and livery cars. From a budget perspective, we should see more of that. You know that. You and I have talked about that. I'd like to see actually an actual plan in place of how we're going to get between now and the end of the calendar year. Step by step to get this thing off the ground. I think Tom's been great. We're going to get there. We've been hearing we're going to get there. I just want to get there, and I want to get there in December so we can actually start rolling this thing out much larger than the pilot before the end of the next fiscal year, so we can reflect those savings in the budget. So I think it'll help the financials. It will help our performance. It's an area that I know you've been helpful in and want to move forward. So I just want to see by Wednesday if we can get an actual plan so I can feel better about it.
We'll get something to you.
Jeff, thanks for being so aggressive on that. I think we all were hopeful that this would move forward at the speed of light, but it is moving forward, which is great. Absolutely.
On the capital program status, the piece about new MetroCard fare collection machines, those are going to be different than the ones on the BX12 Select, which now produce a little paper receipt that you would show. These say that you're going to be able to pay your fare with a MetroCard. Are these machines different than the ones on Pell?
There are some small differences, but it's essentially the same concept. You would insert a MetroCard. It would be charged the fare while you're standing on the
So
sidewalk.
MetroCard or cash? Yeah.
Well, cash is going to be a different machine, same as on Fordham Road. So it's essentially the same concept as what we have on Fordham Road. It's just a purpose-built machine. The machines on Fordham Road were modified MEMs that we borrowed from the subway.
Right. All right, thanks.
The procurement agenda this month includes 20 actions in the book totaling $82.9 million in expenditures. I ask for your approval of all 20 actions in the agenda.
I'm sure you all noticed we've got 4 non-competitive items that total about $8 million. 9 competitive, including a multi-agency staffing contract for schedulers that has been jointly procured with Metro North and MTA Bus. And on the capital construction side, we have a couple of items related to the Fulton Street Transit Center, including design services and the extension of the CCM contract with PV Vovis. And a few ratification items, one principally related to the Corona Yards. I'll take a motion first and then take questions if there are any.
I move that all the items be adopted.
Is there a second? Any questions? Andrew.
On the Battelle Memorial Institute item, it mentions that CBTC is being retrofitted to R160s on the L line, which we all know. Does this contract specify how many R160s Battelle is going to be involved in, or is it open-ended?
Well, I should...
There are 64 cars identified in the R160 fleet that are being retrofitted under this provision, this contract extension,
So
to support
it's limited to that
the
64.
L-line service to supplement the R143 car class. 64.
Okay, thanks.
Is the contract on the multi-agency staffing contracts for the schedulers? I'm reading it says that there's 4 $9 million contracts. We're only going to spend $9 million. Is that tied to the capital budget? And is that funded by the capital budget?
For the most part, yes. They're used for engineering scheduling.
And is this for the next 5-year capital plan?
It's for the next 5 years. It's the procurement. Well, it's essentially the same time frame, so approximately yes.
Does entering into these contracts require us to make those payments, or only if we need it? I mean,
No,
are these requirements contracts essentially?
It's strictly as used. It's there's no obligation to use the amount, and we certainly will not be spending $9 million for each of the contractors. We essentially left us the flexibility to use whichever one can provide the most appropriate staff for any given assignment.
Any other questions? Are we ready for a vote? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Item?
We have one action item this month. We're seeking the committee's annual approval of the committee charter. The proposed charter can be found in Section 6 of your agenda books. With your approval, it be referred to the full board for a vote in December.
I just want to point out the revision in the underlined language in paragraph 4. It seeks to outline staff responsibilities in providing the committee with all the information that we need to do our jobs, and require staff to provide any information that we need to fulfill our oversight duties. I think it's a good change, and why don't we vote on it? All in favor? Any questions? Oh, is there a motion? Sorry. Seconded? Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Carries.
There are no service changes this month, so we now return to the reports found in the last 3 sections of the agenda book. Section 7 presents the monthly status report on the automated fare collection program. Section 8 presents 2 quarterly reports. The first is for the Transit Adjudication Bureau, and the second is for elevator escalator performance. Finally, this month's agenda includes an appendix with 2 reports. The first is the monthly financial and ridership report for the Staten Island Railway, and the second is the quarterly inventory report. Part of this month, these reports have been appearing in the Finance Committee's Rainbow Book. However, the Rainbow Book has been eliminated, so we've included the 2 reports in our agenda. Beginning next month, they will be incorporated into the regular sections of our agenda book as appropriate.
Any questions on any of these reports?
Where are we on the smart card pilot? When is it moving to the buses?
The current plan, I believe, is to go onto buses and to resume in the Lexington Avenue subway on March 1st, give or take. At the same time. It would be buses, subway, and well, if you go down to the stations, you'll still see the devices, but in fact, it's been turned off. So.
And the reason it was turned off is?
There are some changes that need to be made, sort of physical.
Any other questions on any of these reports? I see Mark and Jeff looking at them very intently.
Why is the escalator availability so far below the goal? What's going on?
I would say actually last week we had the best escalator day that we've had in about 3 years. We had 1 escalator down that was not in warranty, and we had 1 escalator down in warranty. The primary problem actually has been recently warranty repairs, and if you look at 34th Street, the 34th Street reports, unlike the situation on when the escalator comes out of warranty, when it goes down, people get in there and get it back up as quickly as possible. The way the contracts were written for the installation of these new escalators, when they go down, we have very little leverage over the manufacturer or the installer, and I would say that is the big hole. I think when you see the fourth quarter results, you are going to see a tremendous improvement. Well, tremendous is a relative term, but a significant improvement. This morning, for example, if I can pull the thing out of here, we had 3 elevators out of service, so we were at 2% not available. And we had 4 escalators out of service, which was also 2%, but fully 2 of those 4 escalators are warranty repairs. And the dates I have for return to service for the escalators that are our responsibility that were out this morning are 11/17, and then we have a main drive shaft 12/19. The 2 warranty repairs are 11/24 and 11/25, and they are. I mean, that right now, that is, from my point of view, the major reason why we're not reaching our escalator goal.
How does the entrapments, the 103 entrapments this quarter compare to previous quarters? These are people getting trapped in our elevator. Right?
These are this is an elevator not functioning. I'm not sure I have that.
Well, it's more than enough. It's them not functioning when they're in it, right?
Right. Yeah. As opposed to pushing the button and the elevator doesn't come.
I don't know the answer offhand. We'll have to research that.
Fortunately, I know who I am. So, any additional questions? Howard, this is your last Transit Committee meeting, and I just want to extend my thanks to you for the job that you've done as president of this agency over the past 31 months. You are leaving behind a legacy of tremendous achievement and innovation. I hope, I know you set impossibly high standards for yourself, but I hope you know you've exceeded them in very many ways, and I'm personally grateful to you for the time that you took to take me, a neophyte in transit operations, and make me not quite an expert, but certainly a lot more knowledgeable than I was. It's been a real privilege to get to see and understand this magnificent system with you as a teacher. And I know you've been very generous with everyone on the committee in that respect. So we all extend our thanks to you, and we wish you the very, very best in everything you do.
Thank you very much.
I would like to echo what Doreen and Bill said before. We will miss you. Your style was always to be very calm, unflappable, and detail-oriented. It was like you were giving adult supervision to the entire New York City Transit Authority. You were always, I think always, unflappable. I remember during the hearings especially when advocates of the for the paratransit were saying that the system didn't work and was awful and would never succeed and needed fixing, and you calmly said to all of us, well, requests for services have doubled every year and sometimes every month, so people must like it someplace. So you always kept your focus extremely well. And another refreshing thing that you did is when you changed the statistics, especially the on-time statistics to absolute on-time, the numbers went from the high 90s to the mid-70s. Most presidents of transportation systems don't usually like to go from the 90s to the 70s, but you thought that it was a better way and a more accurate way to report, and you didn't care what the absolute numbers were. So your type of calm, detail-oriented approach to these transit problems will, I'm sure, be deeply missed, and we're all very grateful to you.
I'll just, without echoing everything everyone had said, I just want to add also your thanks and appreciation for all the bus service, the select bus service, our 34th Street crosstown bus lanes and everything like that. I think that makes a big difference. I think we're going to continue to make a big difference on that. But you certainly helped lay the groundwork. We've got some things up and running, and we'll really transform, I think, the way the people view the bus system in the city.
I could say ditto to everything, but I especially want to acknowledge the efforts at getting everyone in the transit authority more focused on customer service and more focused on making that a priority. I think we've made great strides in that area and really appreciate that. And thank you for always answering the questions that I raised. I appreciate the quick, timely responses.
I just wish they'd been accurate more often.
So, Mr. Roberts, a very well-deserved round of applause. Thank you so much. Motion to close transit and move on to bus.
Good morning, and welcome back, Commissioner Frasca. With regard to the operations performance report,
Let me just ask, we don't have any public speakers, and there are no changes to the work?
no changes to the work plan,
Thank
and
you.
we do need to approve the minutes.
Yes. Motion? All in favor? Minutes approved.
Okay. With regard to the operations performance highlights, overall service performance was solid in September. Both AM and PM weekly pullouts were above 99%, both for September and the previous 12 months. Completed trips were also above 99% for September and the previous 12-month period also. MDBF was 3,366 miles in September. This was down from September 2008, and the 12-month average also declined from the same period last year. I think it's important to note that 6% of the fleet currently is now considered very new, less than 2 years old, whereas a year ago, 27% of the bus fleet was under 2 years old. So I think that's one reflection of the MDBF. With regard to safety, the previous 12 months ending in September was mixed. Bus collision rate and bus injury rate. Bus collision rate improved by 11.2%, and the bus collision injury rate also improved by 14.9%. However, the customer accident rate went up by 12.6%, and the accident injury rate was up by 10.2%. The employee lost time accident rate rose by 27.8%. However, though, all the monthly safety results showed improvement in September as compared to September 2008 in all 5 of those categories. Total ridership for September was down 5.1 from September 2008, primarily due to the economic conditions as well as the results of the fare increase in late June. However, the 12-month ridership average for total ridership was up 0.5% over the 12-month period. In September, average weekday ridership declined 5.7 as compared to last September 08, but the 12-month period showed an increase of 0.3%. Weekend ridership showed a decline in September of 1.4, but an increase over the 12-month period of 2.2%. With regard to the financial statement, September farebox revenue was strong at $14.2 million. It was higher by $800,000 or 5.6% over the mid-year forecast. For the year-to-date, farebox revenue is better than forecast by $1.9 million or 1.7%. Total non-reimbursable expenses before non-cash adjustments were $5.9 million or 1.7% worse than the forecast for year-to-date through September. The primary factor there is, in terms of the overrun, is the revised actuarial evaluation of public liability claims, which is $14.4 million higher than the previous number and what was contained in the forecast. But these accrued expenses are also being offset largely by labor savings through implementations of hiring lags. We do have one action item, as Transit did, for the committee's approval this month. The action item is the annual review of the MTA Bus Committee Charter, which is included inside the New York City Transit Committee Charter. The charter is being revised to include new language on transparency, similar to what was approved for New York City Transit and the other committee charters. We're required to hold a separate vote for the MTA Bus Company Committee Charter revision, and it will be referred to the full board in December. So we're seeking committee's approval of the MTA Bus Committee Charter as revised.
Can I have a motion? The item be adopted.
All in favor?
This month we have no procurements, no ratifications, and no service changes or other information items this month. And that will conclude my remarks.
Thank you very, very much. We wish Joe a speedy recovery. And I don't think it was mentioned that Fred Smith has a new job here. He's replaced Connie as our chief engineer. I'm absolutely thrilled, delighted to be working with you, and what very well-deserved promotion. Thank you, Fred.
It's an acting capacity right now, but thank you very much.
Okay. Any questions? Anything further? Motion to adjourn? All in favor? We're adjourned.